Let's start by diving into something Carl Jung taught us about the human psyche that cuts right to the heart of addiction. His concept of the shadow. Now, the shadow isn't some spooky ghost. It's all those parts of ourselves we push away, the feelings, desires, or memories we don't want to face. Maybe it's shame from something long ago, anger we've buried, or a fear we pretend doesn't exist. Jung said these hidden pieces don't just disappear. They live in our unconscious, whispering to us, sometimes shouting, until we pay attention. When it comes to addiction, those whispers can become a driving force. I've seen it so many times, someone reaching for a drink, a drug, or even a screen, not because they love it, but because it's a way to quiet the shadow's noise, to numb the pain of those unacknowledged parts. Addiction becomes a way to escape or wrestle with these buried feelings. But it's a losing battle because the shadow keeps coming back, stronger each time. Jung would tell us that those compulsive urges, the ones that feel like they control you, are often the shadow begging to be seen, to be understood. It's like a part of you is crying out for healing. But instead of listening, we drown it out with something that feels easier in the moment. The truth is, facing the shadow is tough. It means looking at the things we've spent years avoiding, but it's also where the real work begins. By bringing those hidden parts into the light, we start to understand what's really driving the addiction. It's not just about the substance or the habit. It's about the unmet needs, the unresolved pain, the pieces of ourselves we've locked away. When we start to embrace those parts instead of running from them, we take the first step toward breaking free. This is where healing begins. Let's talk about something that Carl Jung saw as the heart of what it means to be human. This deep, innate drive to become whole, what he called individuation. It's this beautiful, messy journey of bringing together all the pieces of who we are, the seen and the unseen, the light and the dark, into a life that feels true. But here's where addiction comes in. It's like a shortcut that promises that wholeness but never delivers. Jung would say that when someone turns to a substance or a habit, they're often chasing something bigger, something that feels like it'll fill a void inside. I've seen it so many times, people reaching for that drink, that drug, or even that endless distraction, not because they just want to feel good, but because they're searching for a sense of meaning, a moment of transcendence that makes them feel complete, even if just for a second. It's like the addiction whispers, "This will make you whole," but it's a lie that keeps you stuck. Jung believed we all have this spiritual hunger, this longing to connect with something greater than ourselves, and addiction can hijack that longing, offering a quick fix for an emptiness that runs soul deep. Maybe it's a wound from childhood, a loss that's never been grieved, or a dream that feels out of reach. The substance or behavior becomes a substitute for the real work of healing, a temporary escape that feels like freedom, but only tightens the chains. The truth is, that fleeting high can't compare to the real journey of individuation, facing who you are, all of it, and finding purpose in the process. It's not about numbing the ache. It's about listening to it, understanding what it's asking for. When we see addiction as a misguided search for wholeness, we start to see a path forward, one that leads to a life that's truly ours. This is where the real journey to wholeness begins. Let's dive deeper into Carl Jung's fascinating idea of the collective, unconscious, and how it weaves into the hidden layers of addiction. Jung believed there's this vast, shared pool of human experience buried in all of us, a kind of ancient wisdom filled with archetypes, universal patterns, that shape how we think, feel, and act. These aren't just personal quirks. They're like blueprints for being human, passed down through generations. When we talk about addiction, these archetypes can become powerful players. Picture the wounded healer, someone desperate to mend their own pain, or the eternal child, forever chasing a lost sense of joy or safety. Addiction can latch onto these deep primal energies, turning them into something that pulls us in circles. I've seen folks caught in this trap, reaching for a bottle or a fix not just for escape, but because it feels like a way to touch something timeless, something that connects them to a bigger story. It's as if the addiction becomes a ritual, a misguided attempt to tap into the collective unconscious and find meaning. But here's the heartbreak: those substances or habits can't deliver the real connection we're craving. They mimic it, sure, but they leave us emptier than before. Jung would say that addiction is the psyche's way of signaling a deeper need, a call to align with these universal patterns in a healthier way. Maybe it's about finding healing through creativity, community, or spirituality instead of destruction. The collective unconscious reminds us we're not alone in our struggles. Everyone carries these same archetypes, these same longings. By recognizing this, we can start to see addiction not as a personal failing, but as a universal human challenge, one that asks us to look within and find new ways to honor those ancient currents. It's about turning that longing for connection into a path towards something real, something lasting. This is where we start to find our way back. Let's lean into something Carl Jung held close to his heart. The idea that our psyche speaks in symbols, and how this unlocks a deeper understanding of addiction. Jung saw the human soul as a storyteller, weaving meaning through images and metaphors that carry truths we don't always see on the surface. When we look at addiction, it's not just about the drink, the drug, or the habit. It's about what those things stand for in our inner world. That bottle might symbolize comfort for a heart that's been broken too long. That endless scroll on a phone might represent a hunger for connection in a life that feels too lonely. Jung would say these are the psyche's way of signaling something deeper, something unmet, a need, a wound, a longing we haven't faced. I've seen so many people caught in addiction, not because they love the substance, but because it feels like a bridge to something they're missing, a temporary salve for a pain. Let's lean into another piece of Carly. Jung's wisdom that shines a light on addiction, the idea of the persona, that social mask we all wear to fit in, and how it can pull us into places we never meant to go. Jung said we create this persona to show the world what we think it wants. Maybe it's the perfect parent, the successful professional, or the always together friend. But when we pour too much of ourselves into that mask, we can lose touch with who we really are underneath. Addiction often sneaks in right there in that gap between the mask and the truth. I've seen it so many times, folks turning to a drink, a drug, or some other escape because the weight of pretending feels too heavy. It's like the addiction becomes a rebellion, a way to break free from the persona's tight grip, or sometimes a retreat, a way to hide from the fear of being truly seen. Jung would say that living behind a mask disconnects us from our authentic selves, and that disconnection is where addiction festers. It's not just about the substance or the habit. It's about the exhaustion of living a life that doesn't feel like yours. Healing starts when we dare to peel back that mask, even just a little, and let the real you breathe. It's about finding the courage to say, "This is who I am, flaws and all," and trusting that it's enough. That's no small thing. It takes guts to show up as yourself in a world that's always demanding more. But when we start to live authentically, the need for those false escapes begins to fade. We find strength in our own story and the messy, beautiful truth of who we are. By letting go of the persona and embracing our real selves, we take a powerful step toward breaking addiction's hold and reclaiming our lives. This is where we start to live free. Let's end with the heart of Carl Jung's vision for what it means to truly live. Individuation, the sacred journey of becoming your fullest, truest self, and how it holds the key to breaking free from addiction. Jung believed we're all called to bring together every part of who we are. The joys, the scars, the dreams we hold close, and the shadows we try to outrun. Addiction, though, is like a thief that steals us away from this path. It's a way to sidestep the hard, holy work of facing those hidden parts, the pain, the shame, the questions we're scared to ask. But Jung would say that real healing happens when we stop running and start listening. I've seen people come alive when they lean into this work, when they begin to explore what's really fueling their need to escape. Recovery through individuation isn't just about letting go of a substance or habit. It's about discovering who you're meant to be. It's finding meaning in the chaos, maybe through writing your truth, praying under the stars, or creating something that feels like it's yours. Addiction feeds on the emptiness where purpose should be, but individuation fills that space with something real. It's about rewriting your story, not letting the addiction define it. I've watched people find their fire again, not by erasing their past, but by weaving it into something beautiful, a life that's honest, whole, and theirs. This journey asks for bravery, for patience, for stepping into the unknown with nothing but faith in yourself. It's not a quick fix. It's a lifelong dance of growing, falling, and rising again. But it's where hope takes root, where we find a freedom deeper than anything a bottle or pill could ever promise. By walking this path, we don't just overcome addiction. We uncover a life that's vibrant, meaningful, and true to the core of who we are. This is where we become free.